We are on sermon number 5 in our summer sermon series, The Spiritual Language of Trees. We have been on a journey from seed, soil, sapling to flowers and fruits, leaves and trunks, buds, bark, and branches, and now today, roots and resistance. How to be firm, stand firm, be planted like trees by streams of water. We have been, Christina and I, delighted by all of the tree stories, trees that were part of your childhood, trees that you planted in hope when a child was born, trees that you have watched grown up and out and dig deep into the ground. And so this has been a gift to us. I think we could preach another 10 sermons on this topic, but we're going to lay it down after today. So today we consider Psalm 1. Trees remind us that we are bound together. For some of us, that's at the core of what it means to be human, that we are bound to one another. It's what it means to be alive, to be grounded, that we are bound together. And trees share with us in that same truth. Reading about the ways that trees are bound to one another, Dr. Alan Townsend, who is the dean of the College of Forestry and Conservation at the University of Montana, makes two powerful observations. First, he says that there are forests in Hawaii who thrive only because the wind blows in Mongolia. I think that's so fascinating. He says that there are elements from the soil in East Asia that blow across the Pacific and make it possible for the forests in Hawaii to thrive. And on the other hand, he says that in the middle of the Amazon rainforest, there are trees that can only grow and flourish because there were, many millennia ago, an ancient lumbering species of land animal, now extinct, who once carried nutrients from the rich soils of the lowland riverbank up into the heart of today's rainforest. These ancient creatures, no longer evolutionarily able to eke out a living, left traces of nourishment, tree provisions, many millennia later, making it possible for the trees at the core of the Amazon rainforest to proliferate. So scientists know what we can feel in our bones, that we are bound to one another, not just socially, but at the molecular level. This is, as Dr. Townsend says, no hippie bumper sticker, this idea that we are ordinary stardust. It is a true and literal statement of who we are, trillions of outer space atoms moving around temporarily as one, sensing and seeing and facing one another in love. The heat and activity of stars, now long dead, are part of us and are part of every story ever written. Spiritual author Brian Doyle is also in awe of trees and their lives as metaphor. He marveled that the bodies of trees both grow downward, hungering for earth and water, and at the same time grow upward, hungering for light. These two paradoxical aims, not tearing the tree apart, but letting it grow strong and tall and firm. Brian Doyle goes on to muse that a tree's life history can become so solid in your hands that the wood, the lumber, the planks, the timber can turn ordinary spruce or maple or ebony or willow or poplar or boxwood into song. That a departed tree's sun-yearning, thirst-quenching life can be carved into a singular shape that gives music its form. And so all of this is lingering in the background for me when I read Psalm 1. the way that trees offer us a chance to remember that we are bound to one another, the way their branches yearn for light and their roots ache for soil and water, the way that trees offer us the tree's very body becomes the belly of song. And so we read the ancient words of Psalm 1, and the metaphor becomes new again. Here is Psalm 1. Happy is the one who has not walked in the wicked's counsel, nor in the way of offenders has stood, nor in the season of scoffers has sat. The Lord's teaching is their desire, and the Lord's teaching they murmur day and night. They shall be like a tree planted by streams of water that bears its fruit in its season, and its leaf does not wither, and in all they do prosper. They shall be like a tree planted by streams of water that bear its fruit in its season, and its leaf does not wither, and in all they do prosper. That's why we show up here, yes, to be like a tree planted by streams of water, to find flourishing, to find nourishment. That's why we seek one another, so that our desire to do good might be amplified, intensified, reinforced, and held firm in community with others. Because at times, the world seems more violent, not less. This attention-grabbing salad bar extremism too close, too much, for too long. And we hold hope in the palm of our hands that our children and our children's children will become and be and harvest light in the darkness and allow compassion to be embodied. We show up here because we cannot do this alone. Happy is the one who finds that the Lord's teachings are there day and night. Happy is the one who finds the Lord's teachings murmured not just as a solo, unaccompanied and alone, but together, so that the sound of God's teachings becomes a murmur, a growl, a hum. Dozens of English translations of the Bible render the phrase like this: happy are the ones who meditate on the laws of God. But Hebrew scholar Robert Alter puts it this way: happy is the one who murmurs the teachings of the Lord day and night. Murmur. In a culture where sustained silent reading just was not a thing in the 6th and 7th centuries BCE, reading the laws of God out loud would be audible, a murmur at best, a murmur that grows when two or more are gathered, a drone, a thrum, a whirl, a growl. The Hebrew word here for meditate or murmur is also used to describe the growl of a lion. Happy is the one, then, who so fiercely and compassionately carries the laws of the Lord that they become like a rumbling thunder of a lion. That the laws of the Lord growl in our midst. Innately, we trust that something intense and powerful occurs when together we find our way to murmur the teachings of God day and night, repeating them to our children, living them inside our homes and in our neighborhoods and in our workplaces and in the streets. We become like trees planted by streams of water, trees that bear fruit in due time. Not every tree has a chance to be planted by streams of water, and so they must adapt. In dry, arid places such as Utah, the juniper tree can sprout not from the well-watered riverside banks of the Colorado River, but from solid rock. Juniper trees are determined trees. Juniper trees have a taproot, a central root that can anchor into rock and then grow something like 40 feet straight down in search of water. The roots are so strong that the juniper tree can push its way into rock crevices, and then it has these thinner, smaller roots that spread out in every direction, sideways, so that they can quickly slurp up the water from rain showers before the rainwater dries up or runs off. The roots of trees, that mycelial web, networked and vast, reminds us that we are bound together. The trees with their below-ground mutualistic connection, which forest ecologist Suzanne Simard describes as a market exchange of carbon and nutrients linking tree roots in a busy, cooperative internet. Think of that, a market exchange, a cooperative internet. The root systems of trees, of oak trees, for example, spread at least 3 times farther than the tree's canopy, as if they are reaching out to the nearest tree, literally trying to find their neighbors in the world. Trees are sturdy, rooted, productive, bend without breaking, and in a sing-songy way, Joyce Kilmer puts it this way: I think that I shall never see a poem as lovely as a tree. A little sing-songy, but good. What about this? Poet Mary Oliver digs deep, writing, when I am among the trees, they give us such hints of gladness, I would almost say that they save me, and daily. The trees stir in their leaves and call out, stay a while. They say, and you too have come into this world to do this, to go easy, to be filled with light, and to shine. Somehow she names our very longing and hope, light in the darkness, possibility among impossibility. Who then in this metaphor is God? We can see that we are linked one to another. Where is God in this rooted landscape? On the one hand, you've got God who is the gardener, God the good gardener who provides a stream by which to be planted, the good soil in which to grow, the places for roots to burrow down and spread out and strengthen us and keep us upright. God is the provider who brings the rains. Like the book of Job says, God is the one who laid the foundations of the earth while the morning stars sang their song. God is the one who made garments for the clouds, who gave orders to the dawn. God is the one who made a path for the thunderstorms, for the water not just to fall toward the streams and the rivers where the trees might take root and prosper, but God writes that God places the rain even in the land where no one lives. What about this instead? Some scholars say that the streams of water in Psalm 1 might not be streams as in a river that flows by, but instead a kind of irrigation system, a furrow irrigation system, an ancient, sophisticated water management system very common in the ancient Near East that requires organized labor to dig the furrows and distribute the water and ensure that the trees in the orchard are watered. Mesopotamian kings, for example, saw the construction of these irrigation systems as among their chief responsibilities in order to ensure that the people were fed. In that way, God is not just a good gardener, creator of all that was and is to come, but here in this way, God is the ruler, the sovereign, the king, the Lord, who, with compassion, finds a way for even the dry ground to be made fertile and the desert places to flourish. God is the organizer, the manager, the resource distributor, the one who longs to see that all are treated fairly, that all, not just some, are planted by furrows of water, and where bearing fruit is praised and promised, not just to some, but to all. The image of the furrows of water helped me to imagine that God cares not just for the ones who happen to grow up along the streams of water, but who, with intentionality, finds a way for the stores of water to reach the places that might otherwise be bare. God longs for our flourishing and finds a way to bring us water in dry places. So be rooted in the ways of God. That is the way of resistance. Be rooted in the one who longs for your flourishing. And as you are being rooted, may you do all the good you can, by all the means you can, in all the ways you can, in all the places you can, at all the times you can, to all the people you can, as long as you ever can. Amen.